Hey YouTube, this is MindTech. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most powerful tools that Microsoft provides, which is called Windows PowerToys. Now, Microsoft has been making this tool for a very long time, but recently with the release of Windows 11, they have added a lot of really cool utilities that I'd like to talk about today. So this video is going to be more of just an overview of my favorite features, but if you want to install PowerToys, it's very simple. You don't have to go to a GitHub anymore. They provide an install link right from the Microsoft website, but if you still want to go to the GitHub and make modifications or compile it yourself, you still of course have access to that. Now, one new thing that they recently added that I actually find quite useful is that if you go down to the taskbar and select the PowerToys icon, which is this rainbowy type icon, they've added the quick select menu, which allows you to quickly get to your favorite PowerToys. Now, this kind of acts like a start menu for your PowerToys. You can pin your favorite ones right here, and if you click on the more icon, you can see all the different PowerToys that you have enabled. And if you want to disable certain PowerToys from here, you can do that. If you want to use something like, let's say, the color picker, all you have to do is click on that and it activates that PowerToy. It is important to note, however, that all of these are designed to work with hotkeys. So if I hover over the color picker, it will show you what hotkey you have programmed for that. Another thing that I really love about the recent versions of PowerToys is the very polished settings application. So if I click on the gear icon down at the bottom there, I can go into every one of the PowerToys and not only see exactly how it works with very thorough documentation. For instance, this is the documentation for the color picker, which tells you exactly how to customize it, but I can also change the different hotkeys. So if this is a hotkey, let's say, that I want to use for a different application, I can just press the gear icon, select a different hotkey, and that way now if I go and press that key combination, I can get the exact customization that I like. A lot of these PowerToys also have very granular customization. Like, for instance, this color picker allows you to choose from a variety of different colors based on the different types of applications or work that you might be doing. Now, in Windows 11, Microsoft overhauled the arrow snap feature. They made it so that if you hover over the maximize button, you have all these different window positions, and if you also move up to the top of your screen, you have those same positions that you can very easily move your windows into. Honestly, a very nice feature, but I think the downfall, first of all, is that it typically tries to force you into snapping different applications to the sides. So if I say want to only snap the File Explorer and the settings together, the system still is going to encourage me to snap other things. So FancyZones and PowerToys is kind of a more power user oriented ability for this. Now, FancyZones really has two areas where you can change the configuration of it. The first one is for layout, and the second one is a more general settings area. Now, I'm going to access the layout editor just by clicking on the settings for FancyZones and then clicking the launch layout editor button. This will allow you to either modify a template or create a custom layout per monitor. Now, at the top of this interface, it's going to show all the monitors that are currently connected to the system. If I go and click on the edit button for a template, you can see two interesting options. Make a layout default for a horizontal or a vertical monitor. I'm going to create a new custom layout and make it the grid option, which I believe is the most useful. Now, by default, there will be two sliders. If I go and click and drag on one of these, you can change how big you want the window positions to be. Now, currently, this is a layout for 3 different windows side by side. If I wanted to make it only 2, I go and click and drag one of the sliders and then press the delete key. If I go and just hover over one of these layouts, you can see a vertical slider. If I go and click, that will go and create a split in that window position. So now it's 3 windows side by side. If I hold down the shift key, that's going to change the orientation of how you create these. I can create either a horizontal or a vertical orientation. Now I'm going to go and press the save key, and then I have to go and click on that custom layout to apply it to the monitor that I currently have selected. All you have to do to use FancyZones is press and hold the shift key, and you can see the template for all the layouts you have selected. Then just go and release the mouse button and it will automatically apply right there. You can also go and drag this window across different monitors on your system and it will show you all the layouts that you have there. Now you might be thinking that it's kind of constraining that you can only have one template per monitor. You know, it might be in some workflows that you want 3 windows side by side, and in other workflows you might only want 1 or 2. So in this case, FancyZones also has you covered. I'm going to launch the layout editor once again, and I'm going to modify my custom layout. Now there is an option right at the top that's called layout shortcut. If we go and assign this to a number, and then for demonstration purposes, I'm going to quickly create another custom layout and then assign another layout shortcut. If I go and hold down the Control, Windows key, and Alt key at the same time, and then press that number that I assigned each layout, you can see that it hovers on the screen and it shows exactly what layout was selected. So for instance, if I press the 1 key, that's what I assigned to my second layout previously, and that will automatically apply that layout now to this monitor. You can see that my far monitor previously had this vertical layout here. If I go and press that key combination, now it will go and be a horizontal layout. And all you have to do is hover over a display and press that key combination and it will automatically apply. Another option that you can change is the space around zones. By default, it has about 16 pixels or so. If you just disable that, then it will work just like Arrow Snap does, where I can go and snap to the edge of the screen and there won't be any spacing. I really do like that there aren't any animations and there isn't any fuss in the interface. You can just go and put the windows right where you want them. Very quick, very easy. Now another thing that I really like about FancyZones is that you can stack windows in each of these positions. So let's say I want to put this browser window on the right hand side of my screen, but I'm also working in Visual Studio Code. All I have to do is just go and put that in that position and then press the Windows key and the page down key to switch between all the windows that are currently in that position. Something that can be really convenient if you're, let's say, doing research and you have multiple browser windows open. Now if I go and snap another window to the center, hovering just on the right hand side does not suffice. I have to go and click on that window first, and then I can switch to Visual Studio Code. Now by default, if I go and move this window out of position, it's going to keep the same resized position that FancyZones assigned. Now in some cases, especially if it's like a very scrunched vertical layout, that might be kind of annoying. So if I go back into the general settings of FancyZones, scroll down to the Windows tab, and then click on the Restore the Original Size of Windows option. If I then go and push this into the center and then move it outwards and release the mouse button, you can see that it returns to that original size. That's something that I always enable. Another option that I think is really interesting is move newly created windows to their current active monitor. Now by default in Windows, when you launch a new program, it's either going to go to its last launched position or it's going to go to your primary monitor. So for example, if I go and try to launch the File Explorer, you can see that it goes to my center monitor. Now if I'm currently on my far right monitor and I'm just trying to browse for a file, that might not be the behavior I desire. So if I enable this option in PowerToys now, and I'm currently active on my far right monitor, you can see that File Explorer launches right here. If I move back to the center monitor and press that option again, it will launch right there, and I can even move to my far left monitor and the File Explorer will launch right there. I can even go and launch another application like Microsoft Word, and you can see it will go to the active monitor. If I go to relaunch that, it will go all the way to my far right monitor. This is something that I find really useful in multi-monitor setups. Now, as someone who recently purchased a MacBook Air, I have to say one of my favorite features of the Finder is being able to press the spacebar and quickly preview files. I don't have to wait for any application to load, and also the files load in a very high quality. It's honestly something that I use all the time. Well, Microsoft has introduced that in PowerToys. If I go and pull up my video folder here, if I press Control and spacebar, it will launch what's called PowerToys Peek, and it opens just a very simple window here which allows me to scrub through the video just like I would if I have it open with Media Player, but it opens and closes incredibly quickly. I can also use the arrow keys to move through the different video files, and if I want to open with the full application, it has a shortcut to that right up above. This is the time that it takes to load the Media Player versus loading in Peek. Honestly, a night and day difference. I can go and use the same feature on an image file. Some file formats are not supported, such as this WebP format, but if I go and use the arrow keys, I can preview different photos here, and I can also hover over that photo and it'll tell me more information about the file that I'm previewing. Another feature that I love from the Mac is Spotlight Search. It's honestly just very quick and easy to pull up whenever I want to do a quick calculation or find a quick file, and Microsoft has also brought something like that to PowerToys. It's called PowerToys Run, and if I press Alt and Spacebar, it will launch an overlay that allows me to really search for anything. So I can search for a file, let's say one of these images that I'm looking at, and it'll go and quickly find those in the folder. I have different options here, such as opening the containing folder or copying the file path. I can paste that in the Finder and it'll bring me directly to the image that I was looking at. One other nice thing is that it'll save the searches when you close it, so if I, let's say, want to open up the second image in that bunch, I can easily do that. I can also use this to open up programs. If I search for Audacity, it comes up quite quickly there. But honestly, I find that I use Spotlight Search a lot on the Mac to do calculations and conversions. And you can do the same with this search here. If I do 5 factorial there, I can even go and click on this result and it'll copy that to my clipboard. So if you're working on a spreadsheet or something, that can be a very easy way to do your calculations. Now, if I open up the PowerToys settings here, you can add different plugins to the search. So if you're a user of OneNote and you want to be able to search for items within your different notebooks, you can enable that extension here. And you can also enable it so that you can search for PowerToys settings. So just to demo that quickly, if I want to go and change the settings for the PowerToys screen ruler, I can just search ruler and it will actually go and bring up that utility right there, which is also a very handy way to find the different PowerToys that you might want to use. Overall, I feel like it's just a nice and debloated search. When I go and search through things through the default start menu search on Windows, it tries to find so many different results that it just kind of gets overwhelming after a while. And if I want to do something like a simple calculation here, it's going to have to search through Bing and spend like 5 seconds trying to do that calculation. Instead of displaying web results automatically, it gives me the option to search that with my default browser. And it's not going to clutter up the feed with a bunch of different text that I probably just don't want to see. Now, as a YouTuber, I work with a lot of different colors, especially for my brand. It can be annoying to have to import all those different assets into Photoshop whenever I want to, let's say, just get my main orange color. If I try to guess on that orange color, well, it's going to be so far off that it's just going to make whatever artwork I'm working on just look awful. So if I go down to the PowerToys utility here and click on the color picker, what this allows you to do is select any color you have on your screen. I can select this GitHub purple. I can go and preview my artwork here and get exactly that right orange that I want. And then it gives you this very clean interface that will show you the RGB values, the hex values. Just press the copy button here to copy whatever value you have to your clipboard, and you can paste that into the hex section of any creative application. You can also go up to the top here and select variants of that color. And plus, it's going to save a history of all the different colors that you've selected. So if I go and select a few different colors on my logo right now I can go and quickly and universally work with that palette. It doesn't matter what application it is, this utility will always stay on my desktop. Now, a quick one that creatives will also really like is called the ruler. It's going to measure out different elements on your screen and tell you exactly how large they are in pixels. You have a crosshair option right here, which will try to approximate the sizes of different objects. So for example, this folder is currently 37 pixels by 22 pixels. If I pull up like a window and go back to that utility, you can see how it tries to space between different elements. You have a similar option that will automatically find the spacing between elements for horizontal and vertical elements. But if you want to manually find the space for something, you can use the bounds option. If I want to see approximately how large the text of my logo is in this instance, I can find that right there. And once you click off the element, that will also copy it to your clipboard so that you can go and keep a reference of that and create artwork to the specification that you need. Now, the penultimate utility that I want to feature is called Text Extractor. And this is fairly self-explanatory, but it can be a lifesaver, especially if you want to modify the contents of a PDF, but the optical character recognition did not work properly in the PDF, or if you have like a JPEG of class notes or a video stream on a YouTube video that you're trying to take notes over, you can just go and select a bulk amount of text, paste it into whatever text editor you're working with, and go and modify it from there. If I go and press the very easy to remember Win-Shift-T shortcut, it'll come up with an interface that honestly resembles the clipping tool built into Windows. I can just go and drag my cursor over whatever text I want to copy, and it'll automatically put that into my clipboard. You can see that basically all of that text was perfectly recognized and placed into my document. Now I can go and format it. I can take out certain sentences. You know, think about like a PowerPoint slide. You can go and modify it later so that it suits your note-taking style without having to frantically type the PowerPoint whenever you're just trying to watch the lecture. It also works on things other than images. I can just go and demo it with this URL right here, paste it right in. It does a fairly good job of recognizing it. Any extraneous characters you can just go and delete right there. The last thing that I want to mention is the paste without formatting feature. Now, I know that there are some applications like Microsoft Word that allow you to do this, but there's not just one universal shortcut that you get to use, and that's what this PowerToy introduces. The shortcut key is Win-Control-Alt-V, and this is what you press when you're pasting the text. It's still the same normal Control-C to copy the text. If I just go and select a bunch of this and paste that into my document, you can see that it has a bunch of formatting all over just from the CSS of the web document. So if I instead press Win-Control-Alt-V, that just pastes the plain text right there. Very simple feature and self-explanatory, but something that can definitely be quite useful. So with that said, those are my 6 favorite PowerToys. Something that really changes my Windows experience. A lot of other PowerToys have made their way into the operating system in the past, so I hope that some of the more useful things like Power Rename can make its way into the main version of Windows 11 in the coming years. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye. 36 minutes?